free creature in the woods. Be me. I had just gotten a fresh driving license and had a lot of time on my hands because I am too disabled for my job. I am driving to my family for a celebration. I live in England, so it's doable in less than a day, despite being halfway across the country. Less than half, if ignoring no fun signs on the road. Sheffield on the A616 at 2:30 AM, planning on driving the whole night cause who cares about a schedule when you are unemployed. I see a cute Ukrainian girl wanting to hitchhike. Sure. I'm not a complete idiot, so I give her a normal greeting and welcome her in. I ask her where she is going and other stuff like that. She is trying to carpool 2 cities over to meet her family as well. I offer to drive her the full way because I am strung for hours anyway. You're so kind, your mother raised a gentleman, blah blah blah. I invent 100 ways of saying you're welcome before she eventually calms down. I ask her if she's ever heard about the road's history. She knew the road was supposedly haunted, but never bothered to ask how, so I am hoping she says no so I don't look like an idiot. She says yes. Yarn time. Tell her a story about how a nun was sacrificed to the devil by a crazed French aristocrat headed overseas for business in the 1500s near a bridge called Widow's Pass. Anon, where is Widow's Pass? I also make up Widow's Pass. I tell her no one knows because he spread her remains on every bridge and it was dark so no one noticed. Surely he would have told them, right, Anon? I tell her that he didn't die, and that the myth died because everyone claimed a bridge near them was Widow's Pass and sold things. Wow, Anon, that's really interesting. Do you think that has any ties to Peter Sutcliffe? I spin the yarn into a full-on spider's web with my newly activated autism about demons, devils, werewolves, and all the scary people, including Jimmy Savile, and a speech impediment that makes people say X instead of ST. Witching hours in 10 minutes too. She laughs and says that she actually has that speech impediment as I exchange a glance of mock horror. It makes her laugh harder. I laugh too. We are friends. 10 minutes pass by. I slam on the brakes as I see an absolute unit in the middle of the road. Easily over 7 foot, broader than a bar, and has arms like Schwarzenegger. The arms were very off. Very British description incoming, but they were kind of textured like tea bags, and the arm was tangled together, as if it were some form of free-ply rope, and its arm hair sprouted out like saplings. His head did not look to fit on his head at all, like it just did not look like the right size. He also had 5 eyes rather than 2, and a mouth with no teeth spread in a toothy grin, or it would have been if he had teeth to grin with. The guy was also solid brown and naked, with a claw for a penis and no nipples, which was 100% the most horrifying part. Upon seeing this abominable thing, I instantly swerved around the guy after checking traffic, and my crappy car galloped out of there, while my passenger was cursing under her breath in Russian. We'll call her Bliat, because that was her favorite word at the time. Asked me if that thing was the spirit that I talked about. I was shell-shocked myself, but decided I would put on a brave, nonchalant face to calm her down anyway. Nah, I made it up, because I don't know the actual legend, and didn't want to leave you without a story. No idea who that git was. Bliat shoots me a glare, then explains about some weird ancient spirit told of in Ukrainian folklore. Blah blah blah, scary thing that eats you. I get back to focusing on the road. Only 1 city left and then you are safe, don't worry. Bliat reminds me I have another few hours out after that. Cheers. Thank you for that. I could build a house with the sheer amount of bricks in my pants, but I just tell her not to worry about it and keep on driving. It's not like we'll get attacked by rogue ghosts twice. This was back when cars were not made of paper, but even for the time, I had a borderline 4-wheeled tank. Bliat laughs at this, and calm is restored. I go back to the yarn I was spinning as she adds her own pieces of hogwash, realizing I was just joking. We are interrupted by Groot charging right at us, 700 yards ahead. Bliat goes back to cursing in Russian while periodically pausing to yell, "Strike that suka at me." I don't like her calling me names, but kindly oblige as I start to hit stick drift into roots, catapulting him off the dim road as he makes these weird noises. Or that's what should have happened, but instead, my 1.5-ton mini tank is careening off of the road as my head painfully hits the driver's window, and my morning thoughts shoot out of my nose and kick the dashboard. What? I barely have time to correct the fishtail before we hit a tree and narrowly swerve past it. Tank is about to tip over, but I manage to yell advice before the inevitable happens. Manage to get a full mile out somehow before hitting a hill and sliding down, flipping the car. The car does not cost that much, so the seat is instantly broken with the increase in pressure. Get thrown through the window and I am unharmed, aside from the pain of the glass. During the chaos, I notice that the forest that we are in is not actually too far from the city, so I'm already making plans to gun it. I snap out of my trance when Bliat screams. Her legs look like Venn diagrams. I look for a solution in the car before deciding that I will make a tire sled and pull her through. Groot is thankfully nowhere to be found yet, so I rig a spare tire into a sled to pull her with using a winch and some tape. I grab a big stick and a lighter and deodorant for safety because I have nothing else. Bliat calls her parents on the phone to ask them to help us. Ask her why not the police. Get reminded that we would have to tell the police that we got burned by a sentient tree. Fair point. The birds stop chirping and the forest goes mostly quiet. I don't realize at first because we can still hear chirping right in front of us. It sounds like a mixture between someone knocking on a door and bat noises. I realize it's the trees chirping. Nope. I run as much as possible, considering I'm carrying a person in a tire. The tree chirps follow us like a UAV in a card game. I start spinning around wildly while Bliat's Russian cursing suddenly stops. She looks like she has seen a monster or something. I follow her gaze. I finally spot Groot looming around 50 feet above us on a high branch. She did see a monster or something. I barely have time to react as its legs demanifest. It's the only way I can really describe it, and it plummets down on top of her. If you've ever been a kid and seen one of your friends or whatever about to get absolutely thunderclapped by a football or a car or some other kid on a bicycle or whatever, just in time for you to register it, but too fast for you to do anything, you will understand how I felt watching it drop. I just run through what's going to be for breakfast tomorrow in my head because I didn't know what else to do. I finally hear the thing landing on top of her and look over to see her mouth open without any noise coming out as the thing strangles her. I decide I'm the main character and aim for the root's jaw. The roots get introduced to the full force of a cripple's haymaker and surprisingly actually staggers at the process of making sure my knuckles no longer being whole again. I hear Bliat's family rounding the corner, so decide that if a haymaker worked, I might as well throw in a suplex for good measure. Burger flipping anyone twice your size is already stupid if you don't tack on the fact that you're doing it to an eldritch whore, but ego and hot women make you do things. One of those things was getting baited. As soon as my hands dig into the creature's legs, I start to realize my mistake after noticing that the legs were the same kind of twine as the arms were, only getting a moment before the root hair things twist around my hands and arms with the full force of 1,000 people. This thing murders through the woods faster than my car, dragging me along like a ragdoll. Pain was not an option to my brain, probably because of too much brain data or something, because all I could feel is the weird undulating grinding sensation that you feel when you wriggle your knuckles as my hands got rearranged into the nth dimension. I chance a glance, only to find my hand twisted into a vegetable. I stifle the roar trying to escape my lungs, instead pulling the energy down into my legs to try to drop kick myself free. I am barely conscious at this point, only registering the twigs, root thorns, and brambles ripping into skin as a dull sense of wrongness rather than real pain. I finally managed to kick my spaghetti hands out from the legs, only to have my own legs taken and summarily dragged. The spaghettiifying resumes. I am almost nodding off when I remember that in all my hero cosplay, I completely forgot that I had a flamethrower, rather deciding instantly to resort to some Mortal Kombat like I was Johnny Cage. It takes a while to figure out how to control the spaghetti hands, but right as it looks like I'm about to go down some hole, I take whip about the sauce and spray the git right in his meatball. Roarish shrieks that sound kinda like a pained ice machine erupt from the whole forest, and every tree starts spasming, trying to fight me. I can feel my consciousness rapidly fading as I shoot up to my mangled feet. I somehow manage to hold myself upright, despite bleeding everywhere and having faulty wiring for legs. I briefly look around the area to search for somewhere to run to. I can't find any indicator of where to go, so I try to use the moon to figure out the vague direction. I start running as fast as I can before my adrenaline runs out. I see some babushka woman whose presence I am way too tired to question as my adrenaline runs out. I only manage to muster a gargle noise to get her to look my way before I pass out right behind her. Now, I am sure that more happened here, but after I passed out there was a massive memory hole, and I've only been able to remember as much as I did with booze. Things happen while I am passed out now, and I am now at Bliad's house. My hands are okay now, but she definitely isn't, and she's making some weird moaning sound on the couch and saying 6 in Russian in an asking tone over and over again. Tell her parents they should probably call a priest. Parents asked to contact me in case any weird voodoo happens to me. I agree, before turning 360 degrees and leaving whatever problems they had to the wisdom of healers. I tell my friends. My friends call me a moron and don't believe me. I start drinking because the whiskey does not make fun of you. I fall into binge drinking for a couple of decades. I was around 21 years old when this happened to me. I am 21, broke, and I still ride the subway like a moron. I go to some punk show in the absolute worst part of the city. I leave the venue around midnight, my ears are ringing, and I am half drunk on warm beer. My friend offers to split an Uber. I tell him, nah bro, I'm built different. Public transport never killed anyone. I can catch the last train. He just looks at me and says something about how it's my ass. Whatever. I start the walk. Instantly regret my life choices. 3 blocks in, classic schizo in a haggard jacket appears from nowhere. No shoes. His feet are completely black. He is muttering something indecipherable. He starts walking exactly my pace, but 20 feet behind me. I speed up. He speeds up too. The nonsensical muttering is getting louder now, almost into a full yell. I turn around and tell him to fuck off. He is holding a rusty box cutter now, smiling like he just won the lottery. Oh fuck. I full sprint, lungs on fire, dodging broken glass and used needles. I see a subway entrance I have never noticed before. The faded sign says, X Street. I don't even think. I just dive down the stairs, 3 at a time. The platform is dead silent, flickering fluorescent lights, smells like wet pennies. No one is here. I hope and pray Schizo Man does not find me. The train screeches in, perfect timing. The doors slide open, I step inside. The car is old as hell. Those 70s silver ones with the orange seats, all slashed up. There is only one other passenger. This old black dude in the corner, big grey beard, wearing a heavy black coat even though it's summertime. His face is completely in shadow, just sitting there, hands in his lap. The doors close. The train lurches forward. I sit as far away as possible. The train immediately starts going way faster than it should, like we're on an express to hell. No stops, no announcements, no lights in the tunnel, just black void outside the windows. 10 minutes in, I realize that the graffiti on the walls is not normal and is actually all the same date. 11/14/1984. Every tag, every scratch, the same damn day. I start sweating bullets. I look over at the old man. He has not moved once. I try to say something. My voice cracks like a 12-year-old. Hey, man, you know what line this is? He says nothing. He doesn't even glance at me. I turn back to sit in my seat. After 20 minutes of this, I legitimately start freaking out. I ask the old man if he has any idea what the hell is going on. He slowly turns his head this time. Where his eyes should be, it's just smooth skin. No sockets, no nothing. It's like it's been cauterized with something hot. His mouth opens, but it is way too wide. It just keeps opening wider and wider. Panic. I mash the emergency strip. I slam every button. The train does not slow down. It actually speeds up. The lights inside start flickering. Every time they flicker off, I swear there is more people in the car. Flicker on, empty. Flicker off, dozens of them standing, all facing me, no eyes. On, off, getting closer each time. I start screaming like a bitch. Suddenly, this blinding white light floods everything. The train screeches like a dying animal. It throws me into the seats. The doors open up. I scramble out and fall out onto the grass. I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's sunrise. The birds are chirping. The train is idling on tracks that cut straight through an empty field. I look back behind me. Every single window is packed with those blank faces pressed against the glass. The old man is standing in the doorway now. He raises one hand and then just gives me a slow wave. The doors close. The train takes off into the horizon and just vanishes, like it was never even near in the first place. The tracks end about 50 feet later, rusted and overgrown. I check my phone. It is now 6:03 a.m. I have somehow lost maybe 8 hours on that train line. I had been on the train for maybe 15 minutes in real time, but my battery drained from 87% to 3% in that time. I walk for about 2 miles until I hit a road. I get an Uber home. I don't say a word to the driver. Later that day, I Google X Street Station. It closed on November 14th, 1984. The train derailed that night. It killed 47 people in total. They never managed to recover all of the bodies. It was just more profitable to close the station than to rebuild it. They sealed the whole station with the trash cars still inside. I go to the same location the very next day. Sure enough, the stop is completely boarded up. There is zero signs of life. I can't even get down there now. There is no way for me to get in at all. The moral of the story is, take an Uber. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. This happened to me around the ages of like 17 to 20 years old, late teens-ish. I am a chaperone to a youth camping trip. Also, free camping, yeah. Being told to stick close to a troubled youth that others think I can connect to. We had the same hardships or whatever. This girl is a demon, and she's literally only a year or so younger than me. I cannot stand her. She literally instigated any sort of fight that she can with me. I am just barely managing to tolerate her. I finally snap, and the host tells me to calm down. I am pissed. I stalk off into the woods. I walk at least a quarter of the way around the lake and came across a private property that I could not cross without trespassing. I turn back to head to the campsite. I take my sweet ass time because I do not want to deal with this train wreck. I see the log. I sit on the log. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I'm just trying to calm myself down. The mosquitoes are trying to suck the life out of me. I am swatting them away hopelessly, which is not helping my mood. I hear rustling and assume it's one of the other elders coming to grab me and take me back to camp. I wait on the log, being eaten alive by mosquitoes, angrily swatting to my right side, and I turn back to the left, expecting a camper to appear before me. No camper, nothing. Suddenly, something appears from the bushes. It's dark in color, bunny hopping halfway through what was a 4 feet wide quad trail I was currently following back to camp. This thing hops halfway past the trail and stops at the middle where the grass is growing. It stops and turns towards me. It sees me. I see it. I'm dumbstruck completely. Those seconds feel like forever. I see that it's all black, but it's wearing clothes. Well-tailored clothes. Its face is not distinguishable. There is literally no detail. The face looks like a smudge. It hightails it across the rest of the trail and into the bushes. It was so fast, considering its size. As it fled, I heard a door slam. I sit. Seconds, minutes, an hour passes. I stare in abject horror as I try to rationalize what I just saw. I want to prove to myself that it was not real. I get up. I slowly walk towards what I just saw, or what I think I just saw. I look closely at the trail. I looked for a game trail or prints or tracks or anything. There were no prints leaving the bush it came from, but there were prints hopping along the trail in the compacted trail. They are faint, very faint, but they are there nonetheless. One might think it was a mouse. The tracks were so delicate. The breeze would easily distort the thin veil of dust, coating the hardened quad tracks, thus eliminating the tracks. I looked towards the being's exit. Good lord. There is a tiny game trail. I can quite clearly make out the smallest game trail I have ever seen, split between the grass and lower shrub life. I can clearly see that this is a habitual trail of something. Without thinking, I step off of the quad trail and into the brush, following the small trail which led to a tree literally only 4 feet away from the hiking trail. I approach the tree and inspect it for a door. I need to know what the door slam sound was. I swear on my father's grave, I heard a door slam. I swear it, absolutely. I don't see anything resembling a door near the trunk of the tree, and almost proceeded deeper into the woods to pursue the mysterious door. I stop. I realize what I'm doing. All of a sudden, an overwhelming feeling of fear and dread engulfed me. I immediately claw my way back to the trail from the thicket I've wandered into. I run down the trail to civilization. Before I head to the public beach, and after I've cleared the forest, I sit in the in-between, silently losing my mind and crying. When I was 9 years old back in 1999, I ran away from home. My father was a machinist and worked late nights, and my mother was my teacher. I was homeschooled and only knew these two people. My father was an abusive alcoholic and used to beat me, but never laid a hand on my mother. We lived in an underdeveloped business area in rural Alaska, miles from suburbia. It wasn't uncommon for business to start and tank within the same year, so when I left, I found an abandoned building and decided to make my home there. I found a small broken window that led to the basement of a 4-story building, and I broke in. There were signs that other people had come into this building before me, and me not really knowing how to talk to people had me very frightened. I explored for hours. The 3rd and 4th floor were in bad condition. There were holes in the walls, as if someone had come in and just smashed them. Broken chairs, tables, cabinets, all sorts of things. I found a room with a push lock on the door and decided to make my camp there. This was during a period where we only had sun for about 6 hours a day, so without natural light, this building was pitch dark and beyond freezing. In what I imagine was the middle of the night when I had dozed off, I heard glass shattering and the sound of a man screaming as if he was in writhing pain. It sounded as if he was breaking everything he could get his hands on. His voice seemed to split where he was screaming and wheezing as if it were two different people. This terrified me. Even though I had the door locked and I was on a different floor, I still worried for my safety. I flicked my lighter on and burned some manila folders to look around the room. I found a hole in the wall that was just big enough for me to fit into, so I dove inside and crawled as far back as I could. The man screamed for hours and wheezed. It sounded like he was being tortured, but he was the only one there. Eventually, the screaming stopped. I heard his footsteps echo in the staircase between rooms. He made it to the floor that I was on, and it sounded as if he were dragging something behind him. He went into a different room and shattered some glass. He kept doing this for a while, but never made a sound himself. I pissed myself on the wall. Now terrified, he punched through the wall of the next room and discovered me. Eventually, it was silent. For too long. I never heard him leave, and although I was tired, I feared falling asleep, for if I snored, he might discover me, and what would he do to me? After some quiet hours, the doorknob to the room I was in shook. It shook a few more times, and then I heard a rattle. He took a key, placed it in the door, and unlocked it. He stepped in, and stayed silent for a few minutes. He left the room, walking, then he started running around in the other rooms, and dragging something into the room that was adjacent to mine. Through the wall I could only hear a cracking sound. Then he started to chew very loudly, and exclaimed that what he was eating was delicious. I did not make a sound. I had not found any food in that building during my exploration, so he must have brought something in himself. "Would you like some?" he said in a hushed tone. I didn't respond. I imagined he was talking to himself. "Ever get the feeling you're being watched?" He laughed to himself. "I just know someone is in here. Huh. He rattled on while chewing and making that horrible cracking sound. I would really like a dinner guest sometime. I had a lump in my throat. I could not swallow. I had to clear it so badly, but I feared what this guy would do if I did so I stayed quiet. I was so utterly terrified and cold from all of the windows being smashed and being wet from my piss, I almost cried. I am going to give you until the count of 5. I did not dare move. 1. I closed my eyes so tightly. 2. There is no way he could have known that I was in here. No way at all. 3. I did not know about God at the time, but I believe I prayed to some sort of higher being. 4. I swallowed hard and took a deep breath. 5. And he went silent. There were no noises for a long time. It may have been an hour that passed, but I am not sure. I nodded off from pure exhaustion, and when I woke up, it was still pitch black. I startled to scuffle a little bit, totally forgetting where I was, and I froze when I realized. I did not hear anything, so I waited for another few minutes and then left the wall. I exited the small hole and walked outside of the room. The upstairs area was littered with drywall, glass, cigarette butts, alcohol cans, and debris. I could not remember where the stairwell was to leave, so I had to explore all over again. I eventually ended up in the room where the man spent the majority of his time, and that is when it all clicked. The room was completely and utterly covered in shit and blood. A deer carcass had been ripped apart in the room, and its intestines draped all over it. They hung through ceiling tiles and over desks like a canopy. I only realized when I smacked my face into a piece of its organs strewn across the walls. Remember, it was pitch black. I lit some more folders on fire and looked across the room. The skull had teeth marks punctured into it, and the eyes and the teeth had been thrown around the room. I did not know what to make of any of this, so I broke down crying. I left the building and continued onwards towards my home. When I arrived, my mother yelled at me for being gone for 3 days. She quickly stopped when she saw that I was covered in blood. When I explained the story, my father sat down with me and explained that this is why he keeps us away from other people, because this is what they do. I was terrified of people and lived with my parents and did not speak to any other people besides the 2 of them until I was 20 years old and moved out when my mother died, and my father told me I was never really his son. I've lived a very strange life. I am 27 years old now and live on my own in Alaska. I became a commando because of this experience. Be me. I respond to an ad on Craigslist for a warehouse job. It's only 5 miles away from my house. I show up for the interview at 9 a.m. It's the shittiest looking office I've ever seen in my life. Red flag number 1. The place looked abandoned and smelled like a wet dog. The receptionist was all tatted up and unprofessional looking. 3 other guys are there for interviews. They all seem to be on the slow side. This guy shows up. He says he's Mr. Banks. He leads us into a conference room and says there is no warehouse job. Red flag number 2. Tells us it's a lucrative sales position. We'll make $600 a week. He asks for SSN and driver's license. Red flag number 3. Give a fake SSN, but give him my license. Says we need to go to the bank to withdraw money for the paid training. Tells us to get in a van without windows with his 2 managers, bouncer-looking guys. Say I will just follow in my truck. He agrees. I consider leaving, but decide to see it through. They drive to the outskirts of town into farmland, no banks around. Turn down a long road. Trees lining the road form a canopy that blocks out sunlight. Turn on my headlights. Alarm bells go off. I slam my brakes. The van stops. The manager gets out. I can see a holstered gun underneath his jacket. I hit it in reverse and get back on the main road. I check Google Maps. Nothing but dead ends in that area. I check Craigslist. Post deleted. I tell the cops. They say they will look into it. I have carried my Glock 24/7 ever since. You're an idiot for still going. You see those red flags and you're like, yeah, well, I'll just follow along. What's that gonna happen? Moron.